Callan walked alone through the alien forest. The leaves above him were wide and blue, and the air smelled like mint and rain. He was supposed to be mapping the area for the human colony, but today he wandered further than before. Something pulled at him, a strange feeling in his chest, like someone was calling, but without sound. He stepped through tall grass, past glowing flowers, then heard a splash. It wasn't the sound of an animal. It was sharp, sudden, followed by silence. Callan moved fast toward the river. His boots slid on wet stones. He reached the edge and looked down. There beneath the water was a shape, a body, small, drifting slowly down with the current. Without thinking, Callan dropped his gear and jumped in. The water was cold, rushing past him, pulling at his arms. He swam hard, kicking through the current. Closer and closer, the figure wasn't moving. He reached out and grabbed her arm. It was soft, but cold, too cold. He pulled her up. Struggling against the weight and water, his lungs burned, but he didn't let go. Finally, he reached the riverbank and dragged her onto the rocks. She didn't move. Her skin was purple, with silver markings along her cheeks and neck. She looked like a young girl, maybe 17 in human years. Her eyes were closed, her lips blue. No, no, no. Callan said, dropping to his knees. He tilted her head back, started CPR compressions. Breaths again and again. Come on, come back. Water spilled from her mouth, then she gasped. Her eyes flew open. Glowing faint white under the sun, she choked and coughed, and her whole body shook. You're okay, Callan said softly. You're safe now. Her eyes locked onto his. Then without a word she pushed up and clung to him. Her arms wrapped tightly around his shoulders. She wouldn't let go. It's all right, he whispered. But she only gripped tighter. Callan sat there with her, wet and cold. The wind picked up, but she didn't shiver. She just held on to him like he was the only thing left in the world. After a few minutes, Callan heard voices, soft and strange, coming from the trees. 3 figures stepped into view, aliens like her but older, wearing robes made from vines and beads. They carried no weapons, but their faces were tense. One of the men, elder female, saw the girl and dropped to her knees. The others followed, bowing low. Callan blinked. What? He began. The elder looked up at him. Her voice was low, deep, and full of emotion. You have pulled her from the river, she said, and she chose you. I was just helping, Callan replied, confused. I saw her drowning. She held on to you, the woman said. She completed the ritual of return. I don't understand, Callan said. I'm not even from here. The elder nodded. You do not need to understand, she said. But from this moment, she is bound to you. Callan looked down. The girl's eyes were still on him, soft, wide, and calm now. She hadn't spoken a word, but her grip hadn't loosened. Can she let go? Callan asked quietly. The elder's answer was slow. She can, she said, but she won't. A younger male stepped forward, his face angry. This is not right, he said to the elder. He is not one of us. He is her anchor. The elder said, she is chosen. Callan sat still, heart pounding. He had only tried to save a life. Now, he had changed his own. As the sun dropped lower, the alien girl finally moved. She leaned back just enough to speak. Her voice was soft, musical, but he understood one word. Stay, that was all. Just that single word. Callan looked at the others, at the girl, at the river still flowing behind them. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for now he nodded. Okay, he whispered. I'll stay. Oh, nice. And she smiled, just once, but it was enough. The alien girl still held Callan's hand as they walked through the forest. She didn't speak, but her grip was firm. She looked around only once just to make sure he was still beside her. The path was soft with moss and glowing roots. Strange blue insects buzzed in the air, and the sky above was painted with 2 moons. They were headed toward a village. But Callan didn't know what waited for him there. The elder woman walked ahead of them. 2 others followed behind, always silent. The young man with the angry eyes, he didn't come. After a while, the trees opened, and Callan saw the village. It was beautiful, homes shaped like shells and flowers. Built into the earth and trees, small waterfalls flowed through stone paths. Children ran barefoot, their laughter light and musical. But when they saw Callan, the laughter stopped, eyes turned. To him, voices hushed, mothers pulled their children back. One old man dropped his basket and whispered, "He is the one." The anchor, Callan swallowed hard. The alien girl still hadn't spoken, but she stood close to him, never letting go of his hand. "Can someone please tell me what's going on?" Callan asked. The elder woman turned to him, her face calm but unreadable. "She is called Serena. She said she was meant to be left to the river." "What?" Callan asked, shocked. "You mean? You threw her in on purpose?" "It is not cruelty," the elder replied. "It is tradition." Callan shook his head. "She would have died, yes." The elder said, "That is what was expected." Serena blinked, but said nothing. Her eyes stayed on Callan's face, like she was memorizing every feature. "But you pulled her out," the elder said. "You held her. You gave her breath again." "I wasn't trying to do anything special," Callan said. "I just couldn't let her die." The elder stepped closer. "You did not just save her body," she said. "You gave her something more powerful." "What do you mean?" "She marked you." The elder said, "Her kind does not survive the drowning unless they find an anchor soul to connect with. That's me." Callan whispered. "Yes," she said. "You are her bond now." Callan looked at Serena. She met his eyes and slowly nodded. "It cannot be undone." He asked. "No," the elder replied. "She has chosen, and her mind is linked." Serena finally spoke again. Her voice was soft, unsure, but one word was clear. "You." Callan's breath caught. He looked around again. Some villagers looked angry, others afraid. A few curious children peeked from behind woven curtains. Then the young man from before returned, his steps heavy, his fists tight. "This is wrong," he said. "She was promised to the trial. She survived," the elder replied, "and she chose. He is not one of us." The man growled. "He's weak, soft, not bonded by blood." Callan stepped forward. "I don't want to fight," he said, "but I won't run either." Serena moved in front of him suddenly. She raised her hand small, but firm. "No fight," she said. "I chose." The man growled again and stormed away. The elder looked at Callan. "You may not understand our ways," she said, "but this girl has broken many rules to survive." "I didn't ask for this," Callan said, "but I won't leave her." Serena's fingers tightened around his, and for the first time, she smiled. It was small and shy, but full of meaning. The elder nodded. "Then you will stay." They gave him a place to rest. Inside a small shelter made of leaves and smooth stones, Serena sat beside him, quiet but calm. Callan finally sat down and took a deep breath. "I don't know what this bond means," he said, "but I'll do my best to protect you." Serena leaned her head gently against his shoulder. "I know," she whispered, and even though they came from different worlds, something between them began to feel natural, like maybe, just maybe, this was not a mistake, but the beginning of something real. Callan woke to the soft sound of water dripping outside his shelter. Serena was already awake. She sat cross-legged near the door, watching the sunrise paint the forest in pink and gold. When he stirred, she turned slightly, her silver eyes meeting his. "Morning," Callan said, stretching. She nodded, then pointed to a leaf-wrapped bundle beside him. "Food," she whispered, her voice still gentle, but clearer than before. He opened the bundle to find strange purple fruit and warm roots that smelled like cinnamon. He smiled. "Thank you." She smiled back, just a little. After they ate, Serena stood and took his hand. Not with fear this time, but with purpose. She wanted to show him something. They walked through the village together, but it wasn't peaceful. Eyes followed them, some wide with wonder, others narrow with hate. Callan felt it. Every step brought more whispers. That's the one, the outsider. She chose him. He tried to ignore it, but it weighed on his chest like stone. They reached a large tree near the village center. Its bark glowed faintly, and vines hung down like curtains. Serena pushed them aside and motioned for him to follow. Inside was dim and quiet. A pool of still water rested at the center of the tree. Glowing softly blue, Serena knelt beside it. "This is memory water," she said slowly. "My past is here." Callan sat beside her. "Unsure? What do you mean?" She touched the surface. Ripples spread and then Callan saw it. Not with his eyes but in his mind. Images, emotions, sound. He saw a young Serena standing before a circle of elders. Her hands were bound, her voice trembling. She was being judged. The reason? She had refused a chosen mate. She had rejected the one the tribe selected for her. Her punishment was the river. The drowning, they called it. A ritual meant to silence disobedience. Callan's heart pounded. "You were left to die," he whispered. Serena nodded slowly. "I did not want him," she said. "I waited for someone different." Her hand reached for his again. Callan squeezed it gently. He finally understood. She hadn't just clung to him out of shock or instinct. She had chosen him freely, fully, outside. Loud voices broke the stillness. Two elders entered the tree, their faces stern. "You should not be here." One said to Callan, "This place is sacred." "I didn't mean disrespect," Callan said, standing. "She brought me. That does not matter," the other elder said. "You are not part of this world." Serena stood between them, highest part now. She said, louder than before, "I chose him." The first elder frowned. "Your choice has brought trouble. Or change," she replied. "The river did not take me, and he did not throw me away." The elders looked at each other, then turned and left without another word. Later that day, Callan helped some children fix a broken water pipe. They laughed when he slipped and got soaked. Some of the older villagers began to watch him differently, less fear, more curiosity. Serena stayed close, sometimes translating, sometimes just observing. That night, they sat by a small fire outside the shelter. "I don't belong here," Callan said quietly, "but with you it feels like I do." Serena leaned her head on his shoulder. "You are kind," she said, "even when others are not." He looked up at the stars. Back home was far. But for the first time, he didn't miss it. Not really. "I don't know where this goes," he said, "but I'm not going anywhere." Serena looked up at him. Her eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. "You already stayed," she whispered, "and I won't let go." Callan smiled. "Then we'll figure it out together." And somewhere, deep in the forest, the river flowed quietly, carrying away the past, making room for something new. Callan stood alone under the tree canopy, watching the twin moons rise over the alien forest. The breeze felt colder tonight, not because of the weather, but because of the weight in his heart. Serena had been smiling all day, helping villagers, laughing softly, always beside him. But that was the problem. She was always beside him. She never left his side. She even slept just a few feet away, her hand reaching toward his cloak every night, and everyone saw it. They stared, they whispered. Even the children had stopped laughing when she touched his shoulder. He had brought her back to life, yes, but had he trapped her too? Had he taken away her freedom just by saving her? That night, when Serenia fell asleep near the fire. Callan quietly stood and walked away from the shelter. He didn't want to hurt Herb. He needed time to think. He found the old tree, where she had shown him her memories. The water in the middle still glowed, still whispered. He stared at his reflection and didn't recognize the man looking back. "I don't know what I'm doing," he said softly. "I never meant to take." Something from her, a soft voice, came from the shadows. She gave human. It was the old female elder, the one who had spoken to him first. She stepped closer, her eyes serious. "You saved her, and she chose you," the elder said. "But now you pull away." Callan sighed. "I think I'm hurting her," he said. "She doesn't speak much. She doesn't have anyone else. She's just clinging to me." The elder walked to the pool and touched the water. "She clings to you not from fear," she said, "but because you are her choice." "I didn't ask for that," he said. "And maybe I'm not strong enough to carry it." "You carry her already," the elder said. "Her hope, her healing, her will to live." Callan looked away. "What if I let her down?" The elder smiled faintly. "She will break if you leave," she said. "But you will break too, in a slower, quieter way." That night, Callan returned to the shelter. Serenia was awake, waiting. She didn't speak at first, just looked at him with sad eyes. "You left," she said softly. Her voice was trembling. Not angry, just afraid. Callan sat beside her. "I was scared," he said, honestly. "I didn't know if I was doing the right thing." She stared at him, then reached out and placed her hand on his chest. "You are," she whispered. "I feel your heart." Tears filled her eyes. "When you go far, my heart becomes quiet," she said. "I don't want silence again." Callan pulled her into a gentle hug. "Okay," he said. "I won't leave again." The next morning, everything changed. Serenia was smiling brighter, walking lighter. She started speaking more to the villagers, even laughing with a group of children. Her voice had grown stronger, clearer. It was like something inside her had lit up. The villagers noticed too. They still watched Callan, but the whispers were fewer. Some even nodded in quiet respect. That afternoon, Callan and Serenia helped repair a broken Aquapatha village's main water line. They worked side by side, hands dirty, clothes soaked, but they laughed together like they had always known each other. After the work was done, they sat on the riverbank, feet in the water. Serenia looked out at the flowing current. "I was sinking here," she said softly. "I was ready to sleep forever." Callan stared at the water too. "I know," he replied. "I still remember how cold you were." She turned to him. "You gave me warmth," she said, "and now I want to give it back." She leaned closer, her forehead gently touching his. A soft energy pulsed between them, like a heartbeat they both shared. Callan didn't speak. He just closed his eyes and stayed there, letting the river pass them by. In that moment, it didn't matter that he was human, or that this was an alien world. What mattered was this bond, born not from duty, but from heart. The storm had passed. The sun rose over the trees, lighting the village with soft golden light. Smoke curled gently from cooking fires. The river still moved, but calm now, like it had been washed clean. Callan sat under the great memory tree. His arm wrapped around Serenia. She rested her head on his shoulder, watching the morning birds fly over the treetops. Neither of them spoke for a long time. They didn't need to. Everyone in the village knew what had happened, that once again, the human had thrown himself into danger to save her, not for duty, not for glory, but simply because he loved her. Yes, Callan knew it now. What he felt wasn't just care or protection. It was something deeper. He loved her, and Serenia had known from the beginning. She had seen it before he could speak it. The village prepared a gathering, not a celebration, a union. A ritual older than the river itself, when two souls chose to stay side by side, Not by force or law, but by... Hart Callan stood before the council tree as villagers placed flowers around the circle. Serenia stepped forward in a long woven dress made of sky-colored vines and crystal strands. Her markings shimmered in the light, and her silver eyes glowed as she looked at him. The elder stepped between them and raised her hand. "In our world," she said, "bonding is not just of flesh, but of spirit. When one saves another, it is powerful. But when one stays, it becomes truth." She turned to Callan. "You were not born among us," she said. "But twice you chose us over your own kind. Will you now choose to remain fully, completely as one of us?" Callan looked at Serenia. Her hand reached toward his. Steady and warm, he took it. "Yes," he said. "I choose her. I choose this." The elder smiled. "Then speak the last words." Serenia turned toward him, her voice clear. "Now, confident, I held on to you when I could not breathe," she said, "and you held me back. I won't let go." Callan's heart beat fast. He gently pulled her closer and whispered, "Then don't, because I don't want you to." The crowd murmured softly, not in doubt, but in awe. The elder placed 2 rings made of riverstone and root in their palms. "This is no longer a stranger's place," she said. "This is home." They placed the rings on each other's fingers, simple, unpolished, but sacred. That night, the village danced. The drums beat slowly at first, then faster. Children sang songs about the river, and elders told stories of the human who came from the stars and stayed because of love. Callan sat by the fire with Serenia. She leaned into him. Hay wrapped his arm around her waist. They said little, only smiled, content. Far above them, the stars shimmered. Somewhere, other humans still explored the galaxy, still searched, still moved on, but Callan had found what others never would, a bond deeper than language, stronger than blood, a promise made in water, fulfilled in silence, and sealed by a single moment when she had whispered, "Stay," and he had stayed. The peace did not last. One morning, loud engines echoed through the sky. Serenia stood up fast, ears twitching, her body tense. Callan grabbed his bag and stepped outside the shelter. A white shuttle descended slowly above the trees, its surface marked with the logo of Terran Science Division. Human Callan's chest tightened. "I didn't send a signal," he whispered. Serenia moved beside him, gripping his sleeve. She didn't speak, but her eyes were full of worry. Villagers gathered, unsure what to do. Many of them had never seen a human machine before. They looked to Callanona as a stranger, but as someone who might understand. The shuttle landed in the clearing. Dust swirled, birds scattered. Then the doors opened. 3 humans stepped out. 2 wore clean white suits and carried scanners. The third was tall, wearing a captain's coat with polished boots and a proud expression. "Well, look what we've found," the captain said, smiling at Callan, a live Terran in the wild. Callan nodded slowly. "I'm Callan Ward, civilian. Research volunteer," he said. "I've been here for weeks, clearly," the captain said, looking him over. "You smell like moss." The female scientist stepped forward and scanned the nearest alien child. Frowning, she turned to the captain. "Sir, these beings have unusually high bioelectric fields," she said, "especially the females." Serenia backed up quickly, hiding behind Callan. The scanner beeped as it passed over her. "Interesting," the scientist murmured. "This one's bonded to something or someone." "She's bonded to me," Callan said firmly. "She's not a lab sample." The captain raised an eyebrow. "Don't be dramatic," he said. "We're just here to study and collect data. You're scaring them," Callan snapped. "They've never hurt anyone." The second scientist, a young man with cold eyes, spoke. "They live in tribal conditions." He said, "No government, no contact, no defenses, technically non-citizens." That's not an excuse, Callan said. They're people, the captain laughed. You've gone native, he said. Relax, Ward. We'll be done in a few days, but Serena was shaking now. She clung to Callan's arm, her eyes wide with fear. That night, Callan sat with the elders under the council tree. They want to take her, he said. Maybe others too. They see no soul, said the old female elder. Only skin, numbers, and light. Callan nodded. I have to stop them. You cannot fight them with force, the elder warned. They bring fire from the sky. I won't use weapons, Callan said. I'll use truth. The next day, Callan went back to the human camp. He stood in front of the captain and held up a glowing memory stone. This shows what they did. To Serena, he said, you want data? Here's your data. He placed the stone in front of the scanner. Images bloomed Serena, drowning, the trial, the ritual, her fear, her strength, her bond. The scientists watched in silence. For a moment, even the cold man seemed shaken. She was left to die, Callan said. And she survived not because of tech, but because of choice. The captain frowned. That's emotional talk, not science, he said. But it's real, Callan replied. She didn't need saving. She needed someone to see her. The female scientist looked at the readings again. Sir, her readings have stabilized since she's been with him. She said, the bond is measurable. Finally, the captain sighed. Fine, he said. We'll finish scanning terrain. Then leave. But I'll be reporting this to command. Callan didn't care, as long as they left the village alone. That was enough. Later, he found Serena by the river. She looked up at him, unsure. He knelt beside her. They're going, he said. You're safe. She leaned into him without a word. Then whispered, You stood for me, always, Callan replied. I'm not letting anyone take you from this place. That night, the village sang. Soft drums echoed through the forest. No words, just music. Serena danced once, only once, but she smiled through the whole song, and Callan watched her. Knowing she had nearly been taken again, but this time he didn't let go. Not now, not ever. The storm came without warning. Dark clouds rolled across the twin moons. Lightning split the sky in green flashes. And the wind howled like a wild beast. Callan ran toward the village center, shouting, Get to high ground. The river's rising. Serena was already helping the children. She pulled one small boy into her arms and guided two others toward the trees, her hair whipped in the wind, her skin glowing faintly in the dark. Then the first wave came. The river overflowed its bank with a violent roar. Water crashed into the lower homes, tearing vines, breaking pathways. Screams echoed as villagers ran. Callan grabbed a rope and tossed it toward a group stuck on a ledge. Hold on, he yelled. He pulled them up one by one, ignoring the pain in his arms. When he turned, Serena was gone. His heart dropped. He scanned the chaos. And then he saw her. She was down by the water's edge. A young girl had been swept into the current, and Serena had jumped in after her. No, Callan shouted. He ran full speed, boots splashing through the mud. The current was wild, filled with broken branches and rushing stones. He didn't hesitate. He dove in. The water was colder than before, rougher, louder, more angry. He was pushed under, slammed into a rock, but he fought his way back to the surface. Serena, he called, coughing, Serena. Then he saw her clinging to a piece of wood with one hand, the girl in her other arm, unconscious. She was fighting to stay afloat, but she was slipping. Her eyes met Callan's, wide with fear, like the first time he found her. He swam hard, his muscles burning. The current tried to pull him away, but he kept going. He reached her just as her grip loosened. I've got you, he gasped. Don't let go. She couldn't speak, but she nodded weakly. He held her with one arm and the child with the other. Then looked around there. A tree had fallen across the river. Half submerged with everything he had left, Callan kicked toward it. The wood scraped his back. The current fought him, but he pushed Serena and the girl up first, then dragged himself out, coughing and shaking. They lay there together, soaked. Shivering, Serena reached out and touched his cheek. "You came," she whispered, again. "I told you I wouldn't let go," he replied, breathing hard. Villagers rushed to help. Pulling them to safety, he collapsed on the riverbank, holding her hand. The storm began to fade, but Callan didn't move. He watched the river. The same river that almost took her twice. The same river that had brought them together. Later, the elder stood over them. She looked at the pair and spoke to the villagers. "Twice he has pulled her from death," she said. "Twice he has stepped into the current without fear. This bond is not mistake," she continued. "It is chosen, proven, sealed by water and will." Serena leaned against Callan's chest, eyes closed, safe, alive. Callan held her gently. And as her fingers curled into his shirt, he whispered, "I'm not losing you, not ever." She smiled faintly and whispered back, "Then I will never sink."